we've gone from Gladys Berejiklian resigning on Friday, from pretty much all these negotiations happening over the weekend. Dom Perrottet is the leader in waiting now, and now we have the resignation of John Barilaro. That is 3 by-elections in New South Wales. At what point do you just call an election?
Sorry, Laura. I just missed the last bit of your commentary.
Okay.
I'm not sure what the question was.
At what point do you just call an election?
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm still processing the fact that we're under the 7th Premier since I stepped down in August 2005. So it's been a period of rapid turnover in New South Wales. And I can just imagine a family in Sydney's Greater West saying at this moment, hang on, we're paying $30 a day in tolls. Our economy is being devastated by a brutal lockdown. In all these changes, is anyone thinking about us? Is anyone thinking about us? So one way or another, we need stability in politics, and I am worried about the state of the. Anyone I think would be worried about the fragility, the brittleness of the state's financial position, worsened, of course, by the need to shore up an economy during this peculiar crisis, but nonetheless vulnerable even before we faced those shocks.
Yes, indeed. New South Wales has gone through a lot, as has the rest of the country, in the last 2 years, and they've lost a premier now, they've lost a deputy premier, and they'll have to go to 3 by-elections. Chris Minns would certainly be sitting back at the moment, wouldn't he, thinking that he probably has a pretty good chance of winning at the next election. But before we get to that point, what about these 3 by-elections? What do you know of these areas? There's a lot of personal brand that goes into them, particularly Gladys Berejiklian and John Barilaro. Does Labor have a chance of winning either of them, or, cashed up independents?
Yeah, I wouldn't think so. They're safe coalition territory. I just wonder whether that'll be the limit, though. You've got, if I look at the position in the House, the government is a minority government, given those resignations. It's dependent on the support of 3 independents. But if you have those 2 former coalition members now sitting on the crossbench, Sidoti and Ward, look at what's happening and think, this is a chance for us to get out. You could have 2 more. You could have 2 more by-elections. And again, I think what the people of New South Wales want, people living in the regions who've done it tough with periodic lockdowns, for example, or people, again, in Sydney's Greater West, devastated by cost of living issues, they'd want some sign from the new team that they're being listened to. Because right now, I think a new Premier who's spoken at length about taxing the family home, or has presided over the loss of a $1 billion surplus in ICAC and a $300 million deficit that's going to see small employers hit with a 6% increase in workers' compensation premiums. There are some very tough issues around that I think people are going to want some sign that a government is not dealing with its own problems, but listening to them.
Okay, so Dominic Perrottet, he's been in politics quite a while, and as with most politicians that get to the level of premier and leader, they have quite a political history. So perhaps what you're saying this morning is a bit of a hint as to where Labor will go on the political attack. But, I mean, let's go back to Friday. What do you think of ICAC? And look, Gladys Berejiklian, it should be stated, has been found guilty of nothing yet. Certainly the evidence is stacking up against her. What do you think about the role of ICAC and the way it is conducted publicly and the timing of things?
Well, ICAC was established by the coalition. It was a coalition government that set ICAC up.
And it's claimed 3 of them.
It's claimed 3 of them, but only because they did the wrong thing, the absolutely wrong thing in each case. I'm sick of hearing this rubbish about Barry O'Farrell going only over a bottle of wine. It wasn't a bottle of wine. It was the fact that he lied to ICAC. And a Premier of a state can no more lie to ICAC than to a court or a royal commission. That was the issue. And no one's passing judgment. No one should pass judgment on Gladys Berejiklian at this point. But what ICAC said on October 1, in saying that there are going to be public hearings beginning on October 18 under Operation Keppel, is a very serious statement. It's a very serious statement. And ICAC would not be making a commitment, not a commitment at this time, to public suggestions of a loss of trust, a breach of trust with the people of New South Wales, unless there was some substance to what it was doing. And clearly the former Premier reflected this, and the decision she made to give it away rather than to go and boldly put a case to ICAC for a week of public hearings and then rest confident that ICAC would see it from her point of view. So we're headed for a serious examination. But if you're on the coalition side of politics, you can no more complain about the work of ICAC than you can about the rising of the sun or the change in the seasons. They established it, and the people of New South Wales believe that from both sides of politics, there's been poor behaviour by politicians that justifies the presence of a permanent anti-corruption body with the powers of a royal commission. So, boys and girls, get used to it. It's been established. Its powers are considerable. The public support it, and it's there to enforce higher standards of conduct. And in all the cases we've seen affecting politicians from both sides, it has justified its existence.
Yep, strap yourself in. It looks like one is headed for the federal realm as well. Before I let you go, Bob Carr, you said a wonderful thing on Friday, which I think, many politicians need to keep in mind, and that is there is a life after politics. And Gladys Berejiklian will find a life after politics. Was it better post politics life, or did you still enjoy it while you were in it the most?
Laura, I absolutely loved the political existence. And it was a great honour to have been able to have been Premier for 10 and a half years. And if there's something I took from it, it's the advantage of having enthusiasms about various things, the nature conservation agenda or for school curriculum or for police reform, for the substance of politics. I was even getting jet skis off Sydney Harbour, the opportunity of being Premier and saying, this is a good thing. It's in the long-term interest of the state. I've got the power to do it, something in the public good. The thrill of it will never leave me, but I had to leave that at an appropriate time to go on, deliver. 10 and a half years is enough. But the message I wanted to get to Gladys, who I wish well, despite our differences, is that she's got to have broad interests as she looks at a career beyond politics. I'm not sure whether she has, I just don't know. But to wake up one day and see that there are no official engagements in the diary, but the opportunity of learning and doing good things and enjoying the sunshine is just too good.
Indeed, and perhaps she can't see that right now, but she will in time. Bob Carr, as always, thanks so much for your time.
Okay, pleasure, Laura.